Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I want to make an announcement. Has anyone heard the Earth is flat? Well, I just got kicked out of Starbucks for asking NASA employee questions because he's lying. You ever hear about the flat Earth? Did you know what's in the Bible? That the Earth's flat?
You need to turn that off.
You can't touch me.
One of the first lessons we learn in school is that the Earth is a globe and rotates on an axis and orbits around the Sun. But there is an increasingly large community of people who reject this and instead believe that the Earth is flat. BTV wanted to track down the real people behind this emerging internet conspiracy, so we travelled to LA to spend some time with flat earther Nathan Thompson.
Has anyone ever told you the Earth is flat?
I've heard this
Yeah, it's
before.
hot. I run a group called the Official Flat Earth and Globe Discussion. Could I get you in there?
Nathan runs the Flat Earth and Globe Discussion Facebook group, which now boasts close to 40,000 members.
At first, I was extremely skeptical. I thought this was the craziest idea I'd ever heard, and I was going to debunk it in 5 minutes. And after about a month of not sleeping and really just digging through the information, I was a flat earther. No one is just completely in the matrix and wakes up to the flat earth. They started out with 9/11, they started out with vaccines, they started out with chemtrails or something, because they're lying to us about a lot of stuff. It's more than just the shape of the earth.
My name is ODD, and I run a channel on YouTube called Odd Reality, and I go over many conspiracies, including the flat earth, and I recently hit 75,000 subscribers. What happens is you go to school and you're basically taught and you absorb the information that the earth is a spinning ball flying through outer space before you can even think on your own, before you can think critically. So you spend the rest of your life in that state of programming because you learned it at such an early age, it just becomes unquestionable. But what has happened is the current flat earthers have went back and rigorously looked at this heliocentric model, and we've come to find that it's highly ridiculous and hardly anything in it has ever been proven, including the curvature and the motion of the earth.
We're not dealing with normal people that run the world here. They're psychopaths. I actually can't believe how popular the group is. I woke up this morning and I have 2,200 members to approve, so the group is just exploding.
We accompanied Nathan while he was out canvassing the streets of Orange County, trying to recruit some new members.
I would say 50% of the time, someone leaves a conversation with me saying, I didn't know any of that information and I'm gonna look into it. And then the other 50% of the time, they just reject it regardless of, what you show them. Everyone's coming out about all the celebrities, Shaq, Tila Tequila, B.O.B., Kyrie Irving. They're all talking about it, and it's kind of funny is that they just make it seem like a joke, but I don't think it's a joke that NASA steals $50 million a day, $19 billion a year.
Oh.
That's crazy, that's a lot of money, So I'm just out here trying to wake people up.
Okay.
I feel like it's my purpose.
Not only do supporters think that the Earth is flat, they also believe that it's surrounded by a heavily policed giant ice wall.
Oh yeah, so it's very easy to circumnavigate.
You really can just fall off.
No. There's an ice wall around and they guard it. So since 1961, they've been guarding the ice wall. And do you know what we started doing in the 60s? Fake space travel. Yeah, of course. Yeah, my pleasure. Right, thank you.
Regarding the ice walls, it's never been proven, but it makes a lot of sense. Something has to hold the water in. We know that the water is not falling off an edge and there's no ships and boats going off the edge. That's all a ridiculous conception to make people laugh at the flat earth theory when they hear about it. So the thing is the ice walls have been a part of maps for 1,000 years. The first map with the ice walls in it comes from around the year 1000 in the 11th century by Al-Biruni. And back then it was just a map. Now it's called the azimuthal equidistant map, and it's defined much differently. It's defined as a map that's a flattened out version of the globe, when in fact they reversed engineered it, and the globe is a rounded spherical version of the true world flat map.
So if the Earth is flat, then why are they lying? Why are they hiding it from us?
The group have also made claims that space exploration is fake and that NASA is a fraudulent organisation. Much of their beliefs, instead, are based on religious ideologies.
You know, a lot of Christians are drawn to the flat earth model because in the Bible, they back up the flat and motionless earth pretty much throughout the whole thing. But me, I'm not religious, and there's many people like me who aren't religious, not Christian, not anything, just looking for the facts. And the facts is there's no curvature to be detected, and there's no motion that can be measured. So why are they telling us that it's so, you know, that these are proven facts? Why is it taught as fact in school when it's all just a theory?
The whole globe earth model, in my opinion, it wasn't devised by men. It was devised by the devil who wants to deceive everyone. But NASA tells you that stars are billions of light years away. NASA in Hebrew means to deceive. Now, who speaks Hebrew? There's your answer right there. So you asked me who was behind it, and I think it's pretty obvious once you do the research.
This translation of NASA is popular amongst flat earthers and other conspiracy theorists. However, when we approached a professor of Hebrew at the University of Cambridge, we were given the following translation. So while the root of the verb to deceive is similar, this frequently used translation is in fact incorrect, and NASA in Hebrew actually means to lift.
NASA, to be, you know, to deceive in Hebrew or to lift, it doesn't really matter because either way they both come from the same root word. So it's not to lift. They're basically lifting you out of the real, you know, out of reality. They're lifting your imagination into outer space, which is not what we're told. You could look up at the sky and see the stars and the wandering stars, aka planets. But it's not like you can't go traveling into deep space. Everything we see is not billions of light years away or trillions of light years away, or the sun's not 93 million miles away. It's all contained within our sky. It's our system. You know, it's just, we have a barrier up there that prevents men or anything from leaving. And you could find this information admitted by NASA.
Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go.
The kinds of technologies that we're testing out on Space Station are definitely helping us with our goals of going beyond low Earth orbit.
Early in the next decade, a set of crewed flights will test and prove the systems required for exploration beyond low Earth orbit.
And this is really the beginning, I think, of human beings leaving low Earth orbit.
You could also see for yourself that NASA admits that all the telemetry data for the moon landing missions is no longer in existence, and that we do not have the technology to go back to the moon.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
I haven't seen anything that indicates the telemetry data is even in existence, and as I said, even if we had it, we don't have the machines to play it back.
Unfortunately, I'm afraid I can't really give you much of a clue as to where this data ended up and whether it still exists or not.
So you look at all that and you gotta wonder what's going on with NASA. Why were they able to go to the moon 6 times between 1969 and 1972? That's a 3-year period. They went to the moon 6 times in 3 years between 69 and 72. Here we are in 2017, and we can't figure out how to get past low Earth orbit, and we can't get back to the moon. That is very strange.
I'm here today because I was aware that the Flat Earth Society on Facebook was going to meet here. I wanted to meet with some of them and hear from their mouths what their thoughts on the way the Earth is shaped and how the solar system works.
We are not the Flat Earth Society. The Flat Earth Society has been propped up by the powers that be to be, it's basically controlled opposition. So when someone, if you start thinking, hey man, there's a lot of evidence that supports the Earth being flat, or you just you're actually one of those rare people that could do research unbiasedly. You go to look, and the Flat Earth Society is pretty much the top ranking result on most internet searches. So when you look up anything, they have a bunch of answers for things that do not make any sense. So if you like, well, what's gravity on the flat Earth? You look at their website and it basically says that the Earth is rising constantly at a certain rate, which makes up for gravity. But that's just absolutely ridiculous. If the Earth was actually moving and we were moving upward constantly, we would fly right into the sun, right? Something like that. So it's a big turnoff for new people that want to look into the flat Earth. You start looking into it, you find Flat Earth Society, you get told very strange, laughable answers to your questions, and then you give up your research right there. You're like, nah, the Earth's not flat.
Hey, have you ever heard the Earth is flat?
We invited Spencer Marks of the Independent Investigations Group to come and challenge some of Nathan's views.
The Independent Investigations Group is a rational, scientifically based skeptics organization that investigates claims of the paranormal and fringe science claims. Well, I'm pretty sure that the Earth is a globe. I believe, through research, you believe the Antarctica is an ice wall. Is that correct?
True, yeah. I haven't personally been to the ice wall. I've heard people have been turned around at gunpoint for trying to investigate the ice wall independently.
The ice walls do not have to be heavily policed, in my opinion. They keep us in the middle of our flat Earth, on the continents, you know, in the middle of the pond, if you will, surrounded by the ice wall. It's not like a 360 police holding hands, you know, with guns waiting for someone to get there. There's an Antarctic treaty in place signed by, I forget how many nations, 50 nations, 52 nations, something like that, quite a few. And anyway, it keeps people from independently going to Antarctica.
I know water doesn't fall off because there's an ice wall on our theory. So, I mean, how about, you know, how does water stick to a ball that spins 1,000 miles an hour?
Gravity.
But gravity is nothing more than a theory.
Because there's got to be some force that keeps us on the ground, right?
Well, yeah, there is. It's called density. So if Earth's moving 1,000 miles an hour around the equator...
But you're moving with it.
So there's no Coriolis?
No. Think about being on a train going like 60 miles an hour. Do you feel slammed against the back like this? Or do you just move with the train and it doesn't even really feel like it's moving?
But now jump on top of the train and spin the train. I'm open to evidence, and for the first month, all I wanted was Earth to be a globe. And the more research I did, the more I found out, you know, it's just a crazy concept.
The flat Earth is something that can't be shoved down someone's throat or told. You just can't tell someone the Earth is flat. You can't tell them the hundreds and hundreds of reasons why the Earth is flat and motionless. These people and, you know, all the people out there, you got to come to that conclusion on your own. And once you do, you'll see what I mean. Nobody could tell me the Earth was flat. You know, I had to figure it out on my own, and so do you.
Do you think we went to the moon? I'm just curious.
I know for a fact we went to the moon.
Oh, for a fact?
Yes. 100% of the evidence tells us we went to the moon.
Those astronauts are liars. You could tell before they went to the moon and after they went to the moon, their demeanor had completely changed from someone who's rock star celebrity to someone who's, I'm being told to lie. And basically my life's in danger if they would have came out about it. And I think they killed some of the astronauts. If you look at the number of people who died trying to get in the space program or be an astronaut, it's astronomical.
How does the sun move on the Earth?
Take this and put it right here,
right,
and go around it like this.
Okay, that means the sun wouldn't rise and fall in the east to the west as it does. It would literally go out, and it
kind of does, in my opinion.
The sun rises and sets due to perspective. Now you take a ball, you're on a ball. Okay, you take that ball, you rip it open, you flatten it out. It makes for a much, much larger surface area. So the sun being smaller and closer is able to circle around and go in its daily circuit and appear to come up and go down due to human perspective only.
I would believe in a flat Earth in a heartbeat if there was actual evidence to support that model of how the Earth and the solar system worked.
Most people claim that, if there was actual evidence to support the flat Earth, they would be on board, but it's just not so. They say that even though the preponderance of evidence is already in our court. There is no motion, there is no curvature. We're trying to figure out, people say boats go over the horizon. While you're on the ground looking at a boat and you're just watching, a boat will appear to go over the curvature of the Earth, right? But then you take a amateur balloon and it'll go as high as 121,000 feet or higher, and you can't see any curve. The horizon rises right to your eye level. So to say that you can see a boat go over the curve on the ground is ludicrous, because you can't even see a curve at 120,000 feet. So there's a lot of contradictions, and people, it boils down to the programming. People have spent their whole life watching space movies and reading space magazines and just loving science. You've been taught that, if you're down with science, you're smart and stuff. And people just have a hard time letting go of what they've been taught. It's called cognitive dissonance, when new information comes in and you can't handle it. So you just kind of break down, or you just continue rolling with the old information because you don't want to be wrong. You don't want to be wrong. You don't think you're wrong. You don't think you can be fooled. It's pride, it's ego. There's so much involved with it. But to be quite frank, the flat Earth has all the evidence. While you go and investigate the heliocentric model, you can't find any evidence that the sun is 93 million miles away. You can't find evidence that the moon is 238,000 miles away. You can't find evidence that the Earth is curving 8 inches per mile squared. You can't find evidence that the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour. You can't find evidence that the Earth is rotating around the sun or going in orbit around the sun at 66,000 miles per hour. You can't find evidence that the Earth and the sun and the entire solar system are flying around the Milky Way at 600,000 miles per hour. You can't find any evidence that the whole Milky Way is flying through infinite space at over 1 million miles per hour. This is what they're telling us, and you can't find any of it. None of it. There is no evidence to support a spinning ball darting through outer space.
I think they cling to it because it feels to them like they have special knowledge that other people aren't aware of, and that gives you a sense of purpose and a sense of meaning.
This isn't a thing to make we don't feel special, like we're more enlightened than everyone else. This is something that hits home with people because they look into it and they see that it's true. They see that there is no detectable curvature. There's no measurable motion.
There's no proof of 24 hours.
There's an online video done at McMurdo Station where the guy followed the sun for 24 hours.
McMurdo.
It's a scientific station.
Can you Google that, please? Today was awesome. I thought the conversation with Spencer was fairly pleasant. He was open from the beginning to the idea the Earth might be flat, which is key anytime you're in a debate.
If you're looking to determine whether the Earth is flat or round, you don't figure out in your mind that the Earth is, a square or any other shape, and then find confirming evidence. You look at the evidence around you and go in the direction that evidence takes you. In this case, for thousands of years, we have known that the Earth is round because that's where all of the evidence points to.
When people think of the word flat Earth, they're thinking, flat, 2D Earth, but yes, we have mountains, we have hills, we have valleys, we have stuff like that. So it's not flat, but it's level. Whether we have mountains that raise up higher or valleys that go down lower or whatever, the point is that the plane that we live on is level.
The Flat Earth community is the realest group of people you will ever come across. We don't appreciate lies, and we just want to look for the truth.
And most of the time when you tell people about flat Earth, in their mind, they take the spinning ball and they replace it with a disc. So therefore they think we're just a disc hovering in outer space. But that's not the case. Everything about the heliocentric model has to go. We are a flat, stationary, level plane, just sitting somewhere, stationary. And everything you see in the sky is revolving around us. We're still just chilling on the flat, stationary Earth, just like it seems, just like your senses tell you. And you look up and you see, the moon passes by, at night. The sun comes by during the day. The stars, if you do a time lapse with your camera or something like that, you see that they just constantly rotate. So we're not a disk in the middle of outer space. We are flat, stationary Earth, just sitting somewhere. We don't know where, but that's just what it is.